right, welcome to Talking Investing. I'm Tom, and as always, this is not financial advice. Today, I want to talk about Marathon Digital Holdings, stock ticker MARA. They are a Bitcoin mining company, and one of the reasons I want to talk about them is they have this week reclaimed their position as the largest market cap Bitcoin mining company of all the Bitcoin mining companies publicly traded in North America. It's a title that they have held in the past. They've switched on and off with Riot. They have reclaimed first place. So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about the reasons why they did that. They have a big vote coming up in about a month at their shareholders meeting, and they have a lot of other stuff going on. So I just want to do a general update on Marathon Digital. Also, we're going to talk about their production in the month of May, and now hear their production in the month of June. We're going to take a look at how that's going and talk about that as well. We'll finish out by looking at the chart. So lots to get to. I'll go as fast as I can. Let's talk about Marathon. Okay, the first thing is this is from their own website. So you're going to see here their market cap, and this is in real time updated daily. Their market cap is about $2.32 billion right now as of today. Just a week ago, Marathon and Riot were under $2 billion. So they've both been on a nice run, but Marathon has outpaced them. They're now at $2.32 billion. If you enjoy this content, please remember to subscribe to the channel, smash the like button, and hit the notification bell. It helps the channel out a lot, and I really, really appreciate it. If I go to a chart that I made as of last Friday, I update this every Friday, so you'll get one of these over the weekend again. They've grown even more since then. They were at $2.12 billion, and again, they're now at about $2.3 billion, and you can see Riot is in second place, and really, those two are so far ahead of everybody else. BitDeer, which is new to the list, they just went public a couple of weeks ago. They are in third place, a very distant third place, and then Cypher's in an even more distant fourth place. So it really is going to be a race between Marathon and Riot, but it looks like, based on everything that's happening, Marathon may have reclaimed this position, and they may be able to hold on to it for the rest of the year. We will see. There's a lot of things that are going to happen between now and then, and I want to go through some of them specific to Marathon right now. Okay, so as always, the first thing I like to do is compare their current market cap to their market cap history. So this is their last 2 years of market cap. This was a $7.5 billion market cap company less than 2 years ago. So obviously we went into a deep crypto winter after that and bear market. So every single Bitcoin miner pulled back in stock price over 90%. Over the next 18 months. So that just puts it into perspective. They're nowhere near where they were at their all-time high, and they are a much, much, much bigger company. This company has gone through substantial growth. Now, they had a year in 2022. 2022 was a very tough year for them. They had big plans, and a lot of things got in the way. 2023 has been going differently, in my opinion. So if we take a look at their production by month, in June, they mined 140 Bitcoin. In July, that went down to 72 Bitcoin or 73, depending on where you look. So they were almost at a complete standstill at one point. They were transitioning from their old mining facility in Hardin to their new mining facility in Texas. So they had a lot of bumps in the road, like I said, and this caused their production to go almost to zero. Now, but then you'll see in May, production exploded for Marathon. And one of the reasons for that was there was that big ordinals surge on the Bitcoin network that was greatly increasing the number of Bitcoin that they were collecting as they mined Bitcoin. So that number of 1,245 blew away their all-time record. They will not get that in June. So I think most companies, based on the fact that the fee structure has gone back down to normal, and there were Bitcoin blocks where the fee that they collected to mine a block was more than the actual Bitcoin minted in that block. So that was a little bit of an anomaly. It lasted for somewhere around a week, but it did make a big difference in the numbers in May. Now, the other thing that's happening in June is a majority of their operations are in Texas. Texas is having some severe weather. So depending on where you're located, a lot of Canadian miners, obviously their severe weather comes in the winter. In Texas, their severe weather tends to come in the heat of summer, although they also have some winter storms as well. I think you're going to see this number come down. If we take a quick look at the Marathon mining pool, you're going to see in the last week they've mined 30 blocks. I did go through and add up every single block that they've mined month to date through the 29th. Tomorrow's the last day of the month. and it seems clear that they will not get to 1,000 Bitcoin this month. So they will drop off. However, it's going to be their second best month ever. So, one way to look at this is they had a big drop off from the month of May where they mined 1,245 Bitcoin. But another way to look at this is June is going to be the second best month from a number of Bitcoin mined that Marathon has had in their history. Most of the Bitcoin miners are going to struggle for their June production to keep up with their production in May. So part of this becomes mandatory curtailment based on, severe weather, and self-curtailment based on the cost per Bitcoin. So I want to talk about Marathon's cost per Bitcoin a little bit. It is higher than most of the other Bitcoin miners, but I want to show you a chart that I think is very encouraging. Their Bitcoin economics, in my opinion, continue to improve, and I think that they will continue to improve, and I'll let you know why. So if I look at this chart is information pulled directly from their 10Q and 10K quarterly and annual financial statements. So you'll see over the last 4 quarters, in Q2 of 2022, their average cost per Bitcoin, and remember, the majority of their cost is energy, not all of their cost, but the majority. So that was $23,000. Q3, the next quarter, got a little better, went down to $22,000. Then Q4 of 2022 got even better, down to $19,000. And then Q1, the last quarter that they just reported, got all the way down to $15,200. That's the biggest improvement they've had quarter over quarter. And that's 3 quarters in a row here. You'll see that the cost per coin has gone down, despite the fact that the network difficulty level has increased drastically in that period of time. So Marathon, I think, by finally getting up to the scale that they were looking to get to, and by getting a lot of the new latest and greatest, much more energy efficient machines online, I look for them to continue to reduce this cost. So, if next quarter they can be at maybe 13,000 or 13,500, I really think that would be a big win for them. And based on the fact that they have by far the largest exahash, if they can get down to just somewhere around average, that would be a really big step for them. It would probably reduce, if not eliminate, their self-curtailment going forward. Now, they would still have some mandatory curtailment in severe weather conditions. They've talked about a partnership with a company that's going to be making machines proprietary that they believe will be even more energy efficient than the machines they're getting right now. So, all this is trending in the right direction. Okay, so now I want to talk about a big piece of news that's coming up in 1 month. They have a shareholder meeting on Thursday, July 27th, so that's just under 1 month from now. And there's one particular item that they are going to be voting on that I think people are very interested in, and this will dictate a lot to do with how the company moves forward. Okay, so you can see item number 3 on this agenda is to increase the authorized shares of common stock from 200 million shares to 500 million shares. So a lot of Bitcoin mining companies have been trying to do this. We're going to have to see how this goes over the course of the next month. Some of the Bitcoin mining companies have had this on their agenda, and then they've actually, by the time the meeting has come, they've realized that they don't have the votes, and they've just eliminated it off of their agenda altogether. I don't think Marathon's going to do that. I do think they want approval from the shareholders to increase the number of authorized shares, because their total outstanding shares are much closer to their total authorized shares than many of the other Bitcoin miners. So at some point, that's going to limit their ability to raise money through equity. So I do think they need to raise their number of authorized shares. Now, maybe 500 million is an overreach. That's what we're going to have to figure out between now and then. And if this gets denied, I think they're going to have to go plan B and take another shot at, maybe a less aggressive plan, because what they're talking about doing in their growth is going to require more equity dilution. Now, equity dilution, I know, upsets a lot of investors. And for me, I look at it case-by-case basis. We've talked about this with a lot of the Bitcoin miners. I think there's many Bitcoin miners that have been highly effective. Even though they've had to issue a lot of new stock and go through a lot of dilution, it's been extremely accretive. So the amount they've grown their business has outpaced the amount that they've diluted their stock. To me, that's the biggest benchmark. In a recent interview, Fred Thiel, who's the chairman and CEO of Marathon, talked about the fact that over the next few years, they would like to geographically diversify. Right now, 100% of what they do is in the United States. Now, they're diversified in 2 different states in the United States, but he talked about the fact that they would like to get to the point where only 50% of their Bitcoin mining is done in the US. They've almost completed their plans to get to 23 exahash in the US. So if they're looking to have 50% of their Bitcoin mining in the US and 50% outside of the US. And to be more specific, he really tied into the UAE, the United Arab Emirates. They already have a deal there to begin expanding, and there are several countries in that area that Fred said have reached out to them that are interested in partnering to mine Bitcoin. Now, obviously, that's in the desert, so I believe 100% of that is going to have to be immersion cooling. So that's for another video. We'll talk about that for another video. But if you look at just the math of it, if they're going to have 50% in the US and 50% out of the US, that means they're looking to get to maybe somewhere around 50 exahash over the next 2 or 3, or even if it's 4 years. That's a massive amount of growth. Their only way for them to get there is through more stock. So if we go to their balance sheet, you'll see right now, common stock, they have authorized 200 million shares. So they want to raise that to 500 million shares. They have 167 million shares outstanding. So they do not have very many shares left that they can issue until they have reached their limit of authorized shares. So that's why they are voting on this in the meeting next month on July 27th to increase this number. Now, again, maybe jumping straight to 500 is overshooting. If they find that they are not going to get the votes for that, I would recommend to them that they lower that and take steps in the middle versus taking it off their agenda altogether, because they're too close to maxed out here to not raise this number to some higher amount. Even if it's 300 million shares, that would make a difference in the short term, and if they take this step by step. So I don't know. That's total speculation on my part. Right now, as the agenda sits, they are looking to get from 200 million authorized shares to 500 million authorized shares. So remember, that doesn't mean they're looking to issue 300 million additional shares. It just means they're looking to have the authorization to issue those, in the years coming. And with their stock off to the races, dilution is getting more and more attractive to them. If we look at this chart, this is all the Bitcoin miners' performance year to date. You're going to see Marathon is way up here. So even as the largest market cap, just in the year 2023, their stock is up 272%, and it's on a run. It's picking up momentum. So, diluting at these numbers is much, much more desirable than dilution 6 months ago, at basically pennies on the dollar versus what they're doing right now. And if their stock can continue to run, there's room for healthy dilution. This is Marathon's stock performance over the last several months. So again, this is on the 1-day time frame. You'll see they bottomed out to a several-year low here at the end of December. They were down to $3.11. They've had a run-up in the last couple of weeks of almost exactly 50%. That is a massive run-up. So when your stock runs up 50%, that doesn't mean you want to go do monumental dilution, but I'm a lot more comfortable with them dollar cost average diluting as their stock continues to increase in price. And if they can get up to some of these very realistic goals, I've got 2 lines on here, one at about $15.60, one just under $19. I think those are all very reachable points if Bitcoin can take the next leg up in this rally. And that would be to break through that $31,000 mark and maybe head up towards $35,000. So, for Marathon to start doing stock dilution somewhere in the $20 per share, to hear Fred talk about the fact that they want to be 50% domestic in the US and 50% international, they're talking about doubling potentially the size of their exahash again over the next few years. So they haven't put anything formal out that. Those were his words in a recent interview. So we'll have to wait and see what the future holds. But right now, Marathon has been on a roll. Hopefully you guys got some use out of this video and enjoyed this video. If you did, please remember to subscribe to the channel, smash the like button, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.